What if I told you Henry VIII actually had a son who could have saved England from years of chaos, a son he loved, protected, and nearly raised like a future king? Yet the moment he became too powerful, the Tudors erased his entire legacy. What if I told you this boy wasn't born to a queen, but to a teenage lady-in-waiting Henry VIII fell for so deeply that he risked everything, his marriage, his politics, and even the church, just to be with her? And what if I told you the entire story you know about Henry VIII needing a son, the story that created Anne Boleyn, the Reformation, and the collapse of Catholic England, could have ended completely differently if Henry had simply chosen the boy he already had, Henry FitzRoy? But he didn't. And this is the story of why. Henry FitzRoy was born on the 15th of June, 1919. But his story began long before that with a young woman named Elizabeth Blount, known in the Tudor court as Bessie Blount. She was beautiful, athletic, charming, and full of life, everything Henry VIII adored in a woman. Sent to court as a lady-in-waiting to Queen Catherine of Aragon, Bessie quickly became one of the brightest stars in the Queen's household. She could sing, dance, entertain, and her youthful energy lit up the court. Henry noticed her almost immediately. At this point, Catherine was older, exhausted from years of pregnancies, miscarriages, and political pressure. The court felt heavy, tense, and burdened. But Bessie was Henry's escape, young, lively, and unbroken by the weight of royal life. Their flirtation grew slowly and quietly until Bessie Blount became Henry VIII's mistress, one of the longest and most meaningful affairs of his reign. And unlike many of Henry's affairs, this one came with a consequence that changed everything. In 1519, Bessie Blount became pregnant. The entire court watched in silence. Henry VIII desperately wanted a son, and Catherine of Aragon had failed to give him a living male heir. But Bessie, she succeeded. She gave birth to a healthy baby boy, a miracle in Tudor eyes. And then something unbelievable happened. Henry VIII openly claimed him, not in whispers, not in rumors, but proudly, publicly, unmistakably. "This is my son." He named him Henry FitzRoy, meaning Henry, son of the king. It was explosive. No English king had ever acknowledged an illegitimate son like this, not with pride, not with ceremony, not with power. And power is exactly what Henry gave him. From the moment FitzRoy was born, he became the center of a quiet storm. By age 6, Henry VIII granted him titles so enormous that even legitimate royal children rarely held them. Duke of Richmond, Duke of Somerset, Lord High Admiral of England, Lord President of the Council of the North. These weren't decorations. These were political weapons. These titles made FitzRoy the most powerful noble in all of England, a child positioned like a shadow prince, a backup heir the world wasn't supposed to focus on too closely. Whispers began traveling through the dark corridors of Whitehall Palace. The king will legitimize him. FitzRoy will be heir. This is the true Tudor prince. Ambassadors wrote back to Europe predicting FitzRoy might soon become heir apparent. Even powerful nobles supported the idea. But something else was happening behind the scenes. Something darker. Although Bessie Blount had given Henry what he wanted more than anything, a healthy son, she was quietly removed from Henry's life soon after. She was not punished, she was not shamed, but she was erased. Henry arranged a respectable marriage for her to a nobleman named Gilbert Taleboys. It was a clean solution. Protect Bessie's reputation, remove her from court, and ensure that FitzRoy would be raised under Henry's control, not his mother's. FitzRoy became a royal child raised without his mother, close to Henry, but never too close. Loved, but not fully embraced. Elevated, but carefully managed. When FitzRoy turned 13, Henry made a decision that could have changed history. He arranged the boy's marriage to Mary Howard, daughter of the powerful Duke of Norfolk. This marriage united the Tudors, the Howards, and the Boleyns, the most politically potent families in England. If FitzRoy and Mary had produced a son, that child would have been a direct rival to Princess Mary, and later even to Elizabeth I. A child of that marriage would possess both Tudor blood and Howard influence, a dangerous combination. Henry realized the risk instantly, so he made a shocking order. The marriage could not be consummated. No intimacy, no children, no future heirs. Why? Because Henry still hoped to father a legitimate son with Anne Boleyn. He didn't want FitzRoy's child to threaten the children he didn't even have yet. Henry loved FitzRoy, but not more than he loved his own ambitions. And the question remains, why didn't Henry VIII ever make FitzRoy king? The truth is painful but simple. First, FitzRoy was illegitimate. Only Parliament could legitimize him, and Henry never requested it. Second, FitzRoy was young. Henry feared giving too much power to a teenager. Third, Anne Boleyn fiercely opposed the idea. She wanted her son to be heir someday, not Bessie Blount's. Fourth, Henry still believed he would have a perfect legitimate heir. FitzRoy reminded him of Catherine's failures and of his own impatience. And finally, FitzRoy's health deteriorated. By 1535, the boy was sick with tuberculosis. A dying heir was no heir at all. And Henry did nothing. No extraordinary treatment, no royal physicians rushing to save him, no urgency. FitzRoy died at just 17 years old. Henry didn't even attend his funeral. He buried the boy quietly, quickly, almost conveniently. One less threat to the future Tudor succession. One less reminder of the queen who could not give him a son. One less path England might have taken. But the bigger question remains, did FitzRoy deserve to be king? Most historians agree, yes, he did. He was educated, trained for leadership, politically supported, loyal, disciplined, respected, and the only living son Henry VIII had for the first 17 years of his reign. Foreign ambassadors wrote that if Henry legitimized FitzRoy, no one in England would oppose him. Even Thomas Cromwell believed FitzRoy would have made a stronger king than young Edward VI. FitzRoy had the temperament, the stability, and the presence Edward never lived long enough to develop. England lost a potentially powerful, stabilizing Tudor king. History lost the prince who might have rewritten everything. And FitzRoy? He lost the life he was born to live. In the end, Henry FitzRoy was the prince Henry VIII needed, but not the one he chose. A boy born of love, raised in power, silenced by politics, and erased by ambition. If he had lived, or if Henry had legitimized him, England's entire future would be different. No break with Rome, no chaos under Mary, no Elizabethan wars, no succession crisis. One boy, the boy who could have been king, was buried without a crown, without a legacy, without the story he deserved.